Welcome back to KSP 1.4 Making History. And what have we got today? Well, we've got our trip out to Ike, I think. But before we get on that, I thought we'd do some modifications to our expedition craft and make sure to take a scientist this time, not an engineer. Speaking of which, who's actually on board? Jeb's on board, Bill's on board, Bob's on board, and Valentina. I think we want to hire some new staff to train up, just so we can use Jeb and Valentina for close-in stuff and send the newbies to another world to succeed, obviously. So in here, what I wanted to do first then is just modify this craft a little bit. I've added a few mods, and the mods essentially are recommended by some of you. So I've got, and just bear with me a second while I see this on screen. Stage recovery, FMRS continued. They're both about reusing rockets and stuff like that. Recovery controller. We've got Space Y in here for really large boosters. RCS build aid, recoupler, editor extensions redux. Editor extensions redux you've probably seen in my realism overhaul series. Planet shine, distant object enhancement. So just things to make things look a little bit better. Nicer building tools, stage recovery stuff once we get a little bit larger, and D-Magic Orbital Science, and lastly, Universal Storage. So Universal Storage is mainly because of my love affair with stuff that makes rockets like rockets rather than Kerbal stuff. So although this is probably Kerbalish, it does work very, very well. So, and it's all fitting within the same rocket cylinder, so that's fine with me. I think what I'm going to do, however, is take this section off, and then we'll have a look at what we can do with this section. So I'm going to move the solar panels up to here, and they may even survive a re-entry. You'll see it says 2R there instead of just having two sort of segments of the circle. That's the editor extensions redux. It's very, very handy. For example, I can go down to 1R, or I can go all the way up to many 20R. There we go. And it doesn't let me cycle around. That's a shame. But other than that, it works fine. So I've added some more drogue chutes here, just in case, because I'm going to add a different sort of section. This is the regular service bay. Works very well, and does, again, look like a cylinder, but it's sort of inefficient on the inside, and we can pack it with more stuff, I guess, but we have better options than that now. So let's just take this off, okay, and throw it away. We can also take this off. Now, it depends if we want to keep the stuff that we've got here. I want to try. It may go badly, but I want to try. So let's just look at what universal storage gives us. Okay, so if we go for a hex core, which is, there's a few different cores that you can put in. A quad core, a hex core, an octa core somewhere as well. And you can get all the same modules you've got for regular science, but you can put them around this hex core. So let's, for example, say we want the Science Junior. It's 15,000, but we want it anyway. And if we put it, it should lock in place here once I get it in the right place. You'll see that that is smaller than the regular Science Junior. I don't think it's any less weight, 0.05 tons. And let's have a look at the Science Junior. Is it 0.2 tons? So it is smaller. Obviously, it's actually still even smaller than this entire lander. So when that happens, there's a couple of options. One, we can keep it up here instead, and then try and make sure things don't combust. That may be a little bit too big for that though. So let's just look back at universal quad. What happens if I put this up here? Yeah, you see, that might work. And we can put the parachute back. That gives us a Science Junior that will be kept and returned. So that's one option. You get a few different things like mystery goo. So I think I'm just going to buy. I'm going to buy the majority of this stuff actually, because it's all very, very useful. Some of this is D-Magic Orbital Science, like the RPWS antenna, Orbital Telescope, and this is the regular sort of thermometers and barometers in one. But of course, if we do this at the top, it will only give us access to one specific thing. So let's have a look at the octa-core. The octa-core is probably going to be larger. Yep, look at that. And now we could move this back down here, and that'll line up quite nicely with the edge there. We then put this back, and obviously once we've filled in the rest of these spaces, that would look a lot more like the default return capsule. So we have sort of 8 spaces here, and we have 6 possible things. So we can take more than one science junior, but if we're going to send a scientist, they can refresh it. Orbital Telescope, so why don't we just fill in a few of these and let's just spin them around. Orbital Telescope, the RBWS antenna. There we go. And where's the magnetometer boom? I want them all pointing in different directions just because of the way they will extend. Let me show you how they'll extend and then you'll get the idea. So deploy RPWS. That's going to open. Yeah, there you go, see? Okay, and then on this side, we can open the shutter. And there you go. You get a telescope. And on this side, the magnetometer boom will be a long boom, should be a straight one. Yeah, there we go. So all this stuff will deploy quite nicely from here. I almost want this heat shield to be a little bit lower. It seems a little bit high there. But that's just where the nodes are, unfortunately. I don't think that's anything to do with this itself. Let me just take this off. Does this have anywhere to attach lower? No, it doesn't. That's just where that particular thing attaches. Okay. So I'm going to fold all this stuff back in now. Oops, not the heat shield. Close the shutter. The Science Junior, I think, has the same kind of thing. Yep, there you go. You got a nice little animated section that opens up. But otherwise is pretty much standard. And we can retract the other antennas. And of course we'd have those once we were out there. What I wouldn't mind is if Universal Storage had some antennas that you could put in these, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to. So we'll just continue. We'll just put... we need to adjust this by a little bit more, don't we? Let me just put that aside for a second. Can I move these over? It's really inconvenient that they cover that because I can see different... That is going to really annoy me. That this is this Cable Engineer or is this another mod? Or, oh, actually that'll do. That'll be fine. 5 degrees. So I want 45 degrees. And that will let me snap to, well, hopefully... that's not rotational degrees. Oh, it's fine anyway. It's fine anyway. Fine. So let's bring that down. And what was I going to do? So that was the barometer. We just need mystery goo. So I think what I'll do is just fill up the rest with mystery goo. Saves having to reset it and keeps this in here. I'm just wondering whether there's going to be any problem with torque on this thing. Let's wait till this needs to snap. There we go. And one more. There we go. So that's now assembled as a complete pod. What I don't know is really just how heavy that is. What we could do is just take this one off. And in fact, let's put it back on for a second. Where is the weight of this? It should be on the vessel. So the vessel mass is 5.8 tons at the moment. Let's take this off. And what is it now? So that's an extra couple of tons. And I'm just wondering whether we'll have enough parachutes for it. So just for belt and braces purposes, I think I'm going to add another parachute just to this for when we come back. We may not need it, but if we do, we'll have an extra. Shoot. We're going to go with radial mount. And what I was just wondering whether just put some of these, let me just get this to a reasonable snap distance. There we go. And then we'll have pairs like that. Throw these away. And then if I can select this, there we go. We'll put this right down the middle maybe, something like that. So they can still see it out of the windows if they want to. And all those I haven't reproduced to the other side, so I just need to pick them up. Change to 2R mode. There we go. And the same thing with this. Okay. So we've now got a lander that hopefully should be able to slow everything down. Real Shoot will actually do this job a lot better, but I've not put Real Shoot mod on. If you want me to put that on, I've no problem doing so. But let's just rearrange this. We want single parachute on the top, and we also want those two. Let's put those in a separate stage as well. So, drogue chutes, main chute, and emergencies on either side. Okay. And then, of course, the separator. So let's bring this back and see what that did to our Delta V now. Delta V was originally 11.8. No, that's wrong because the engines are wrong. Don't worry, it's not reduced it that much. At least I really hope not. So let's just get this right. We've got all the engines firing at the bottom, then separating, then we want to lose the fairings. Then that stage is taking over. Then we're going to add another stage here. Is it going to be here? Those two are fine. This one is the very last thing to happen, so we want that to move up here. And we're up to 11. There we are. So 1, 2. And that's the nuclear engine, so we want separation for all that. I think that's done. So expedition, let's call this expedition 4, shall we? Save. And are we ready? What's the takeoff like? 1.3, that will do fine. And 1.49, 0.9, 0.3, that will be just fine. So lots and lots of spare in here, and we have a nicely designed sort of Science Central thing in here. So let's just go and recruit a couple more people, fast forward a little bit, and then send them to, well, Juna. Okay, so let's get some people with enough courage and stupidity. Let's say a Gable Kerman. Science can boost the value of data from science experiments. Okay, fine. Let's take you, and we're going to want another pilot. So we don't have anyone with a good mix of courage and stupidity. We only have someone with one or the other. So courage, but very clever, is Roswise Kerman. So let's take them as well. And that's really, really expensive. I didn't notice. Wow. Okay, we're gonna need to do some more missions to get some more money. Wow. Okay, but not fail on that. Platinum Flag and Eve, we're not going to take that one. Are there any? Yeah, science data from surface of Ike. Well, surface. Ooh, that's going to be interesting. I'd have to land on legs. Orbital spacewalk, return to Kerbin. This is actually really, really nice. I will take that one, I think. And surface. Do we really want to do that? Possibly. I'm going to take it. And then I'm going to modify our ship again. I'm going to put some landing legs on it. So I'll use these large LT2 landing struts, and if we just show those extended, you'll see that they do give this engine a bit of room, and they will start just fine. So let's just retract those. It does drop our Delta V to 10.6, of course. They're going to be fairly heavy. They're 0.1 tons each. We could try and mount them to somewhere else, but yeah, what I'd have to do is probably take out some of these tanks just to make sure, or manually position them. And I just thought, well, we'll just add one on each sort of tank side and we'll go with that. So that means I now want some crew, and let's just add Roswise, add a Gable, and they will do for our crew. We need to leave, and then we need to get to our transfer window. 208 days to go. Or rather, simply 3 hours, 23 minutes to go. And I've cut out the flashes of night and day, somewhat like the time-traveling issue with the time machine. But yeah, Launchpad, we want Expedition 4, and let's just re-select our crew. I'll forget it doesn't retain that. Kind of be nice if it would remember that, but that's just fine. And we're going to launch. Okay, now FMRS is here. You can arm it and then it will start doing its stuff. I'm going to leave that out for this particular episode. I'm going to come on to that in a separate dedicated episode probably. In any case, we're going to take off as normal. So SAS on, thrust is all the way already up, and take off. So you obviously will get science here now. We don't actually need that at the moment. You can get some science from D-Magic Orbital Science near Kerbin, but again, we're not going to worry about that too much. It's not as much science as we get from much further out. So I'll skip most of the ascent. It's the same as you've previously seen. So I'll see you in orbit. And as we burn into our circularization, one advantage of having more weight on this upper end is that now this main stage is not got enough power to get us all the way into orbit. We don't have to stop early. We can use all of its fuel and drop it without worrying about it being out of the atmosphere still. That should be fine, I think. We'll see very shortly, of course. And what is it now? So 730, yeah, so there's about 100 delta V we need from the next stage up. But that's not a problem. Because the next stage up is not as powerful, so it'll give me more fine-grained control. Our APO is currently 80 kilometers, so we just want to get to roughly around 80 kilometers from the next stage down. And then, of course, we'll plan our interplanetary trip. And I do quite like this. Yeah, I think it's quite nice. We should be running out of fuel any second. There it goes. And that's actually pretty much perfect, because that was about 8 kilometers up. And now we're just going to get ourselves over the atmosphere. And that'll do just fine. Yeah. We're not going to get any more square than that. Has it saved my actions for the solar panels? It has. Good. And we've got our solar panels extending and unfolding. I should have gone for the 1x6s actually to stick out further, but these work anyway. There they go. There they come. Alright, so we're done with that. Then we need to plan our interplanetary trip. So as normal, we want to transfer to another planet. We want to select that planet. So straightforward now. I'm just going to choose Juno, set as target. And I actually just want to, because we know we're in the transfer window anyway, so make sure we just select as soon as possible. Yes, it voids our warranty, create a node. And there it is, there it's coming up. So it's around 1041, we've got 1800, more than enough to deal with that. And does that give us an encounter on the other side? That doesn't give us an encounter on the other side. We tipped? No. Maybe we just need another quick adjustment here. So can I bring this around and get an encounter? Some kind of transfer? Oh, there we go. Nearly. And can we sweep this around? What's that going to be? Closest approach? Yeah, we can. We can bring it around a little bit. 631. We can adjust it halfway around if we want to. I'm going to just play with this for a little bit of time. But again, because you've seen this before, burning for another planet isn't going to be much of a problem. So when you next join me, we'll be heading out towards Juno, or rather Ike. Okay, so maybe I want to show you the maneuver just before we actually get to the planet. Ike is in synchronous orbit with Juno, essentially the Kerbal equivalent of Mars. And that means, just like the moon, they're sort of facing each other. And well, that's not really the hard part with Ike. The hard part with Ike is its terrain. It's quite mountainous, quite hilly, and a bit annoying to actually land on, which is why I was humming and hawing a little bit. So, it should be fairly easy to get an encounter with Ike. Generally, you get an encounter whether you want to or not. But there are occasions where in its orbit, it's not around. I think we should be okay on this one, though. Can we get to an encounter? We should be able to. Let's just bring our normal down a little bit. Yep, so that brings us right around here. And if we bring our orbit in a little bit, am I passing right through Ike? Yes. Okay, well, that's what it currently is. And what we want to see is where it will be. So it's not going to be on that side of the planet, unfortunately. Otherwise, we'd see a change in this maneuver. It'd be nice if I could see where it will be, but set Ike as the target. There we go. So it's going to be on this side. That's going to be interesting. So let's bring our orbit across. Whoops. And let's change that over. And there you see we have an encounter with Ike. So can we focus view on Ike now? Yep. There we go. So now we'll see where essentially where it will be over there, of course. And this is 258 kilometers. We want to be a lot closer than that. We may not be able to get the precision really with this, but let's just bring ourselves to here. 48 kilometers seems sane. And we will then, of course, circularize once we get there. But this maneuver is going to be 79 meters per second, more than enough for that. And it will be in how long? 136 days. So still before we have to get that return trip back from Eve. That's in 300 days. And here we are. We're already on our way out to Ike. MechJeb is just correcting things now and doing the second, well, accelerating for this circularization. It's not quite a circularization though, because we've got 1100 delta V for the maneuver. We've only got 700 in the tanks, so that leaves another 400 or so. And this second tank, the last tank, if you like, our nuclear engine, just doesn't have as much thrust. If you have a look at 400, that's maybe a tenth of this, so a tenth of this time. That would take 2 minutes to consume 400 delta V. So what we actually want to do is just move this maneuver so that it triggers early, and we'll get an odd orbit by doing so, but we should, hopefully actually go into an orbit rather than just fly off, and we'll see how well that comes in just a few seconds now as this comes in. And here we go. 10 days, 5 days, and in we come. Into a few hours, and we should be arriving at the sphere of influence anytime now. Yep, here we come. And approaching the node. So let's just come out of the map mode. And here we are. Here's Ike. Ike's a wonderful place. As you can see what I mean by mountains. If you get a good area, it's not too bad, but it's not great if you don't. I mean, some of these valleys aren't good. So yeah, let's see how well that goes. So this is going to take a little bit of time to slow down. I'm just going to do this automatically, I think, and see how well this does once it runs out of fuel on this AJ-10 stage. Once we hit the nuclear stage. Okay, AJ-10 stage is burned out. Nuclear stage. And of course, all of that will continue flying off into probably interstellar space at some point. That's distant object enhancement you can see over there. There's a slight dot. That may even be Kerbin? Not sure. We'll have to take a look at that. In any case, you can see how slow this is now. The estimated burn is another 2 minutes, as we were saying. So where are we? We're sort of we're just passing our maneuver node location, and our orbit line is sweeping in, but it's just going to take a time. You see, right now we're still on an escape orbit, and we don't want that to happen. So we'll continue burning for a couple of minutes. Hopefully that we'll get to around about here, and that should hopefully be a better orbit than this egg shape, which is from the previous maneuver node location. And we're in orbit around Ike. Still an egg shape, well, an ellipse. But we're in orbit, so that means we can do our sort of science trips. So we need to go on orbital spacewalk, and we need to return to Kerbin. So orbital spacewalk shouldn't be terribly much of a problem. Before we go out there, though, we can get all of this stuff done. Look at that! Look at all this stuff that we've got. So we've got material study, okay, and mystery goo observation, pressure scan, temperature scan, orbital telescope, radio plasma wave, magnetometer. That's fine. And we'll start to gather all of this stuff in. We're not going to send it anywhere. So 12, 75, 36, 30, 18. And our ship now looks a little bit different now that we've got all this stuff out here. But that is fine. So let's just turn on the SAS just to stop ourselves from spinning mainly. And let's get the temperature scan. Okay, we've got all of that. And of course, it's all on the underside of our heat shield, inside our heat shield, I should say. So I shouldn't have to go out there and collect all the data necessarily. Although we might want to do just to get more science. In any case, we need to go on a spacewalk regardless. So not a pilot, but our scientist can get out. There we go. And can let go. And has that got... Yep, we got an orbital spacewalk. Cool. And we've got everything we need to. So, is there anything we can do really here? Maybe not. Let's take a quick look around. Nope. Let's go over the top. What can we get on this side? Can we actually do anything on this craft? There we go. So yeah, I can go and get the data. Let's take the data from the Orbital Telescope. And we're going to do the same thing with the other modules. Take the data and restore it. And we're going to do without the other stuff as well. Some of them don't need restoring, of course. But things like the Mystery Goo, the Science Junior, etc., you will have to restore them. But that will be fine. So let's take the data and continue going around. Getting close enough to be able to do stuff here is a little bit of an art form, but not hard. Whoops. Take data. There we go. And is there anything down here? Take the temperature data, take the pressure data. Science Junior, we'll take it and reset. And I think that's it, isn't it? I don't think there's anything on the other side that we've used. So we're going to have to get back on board after a short spacewalk. And we should be okay to continue. Of course, we can gather much more science should we want to. Okay, but I will leave you there and we'll skip forward. Now, just as important here is the fact we're still in space high with regard to Ike. Ike low is like around 10 kilometers, I want to say. So we can add a maneuver here and just pull ourselves in a little bit on the other side. So let's see what 10 looks like. Oh, is it really 10 to get... I suppose that's still fine. We're not going to hit any mountains, I don't think. But, I just want to double test that. I don't want to go down too low. Let's just go just under 20, shall we? There we go. Yeah. And that should be safe all the way around. So we'll execute that node. Again, nothing specific we need to do here. Now to get down to Ike and back up again, I think it's something like 400-ish, 400 and something maybe a bit less than that. Just to get down, and then the same to get back up again, of course. And we have more than enough delta V to spare, and we have enough thrust to actually do it. The main thing you want to probably watch out for on Ike is that you do that on a light patch, ideally, I think, just because the ground is very, very dark. And ideally somewhere as flat as possible, although it's very, very hard to find a completely flat place on Ike. Makes its landing a little bit harder than normal. So I'm just going to go around a few times. I'm going to test where the low science level is. Let's just warp around to here and let's see if it still says if we're in science high or science low. That's perfectly fine. Come on, you can time what faster than that, clearly. We do actually have a link back to Viking 1, which has a link back to Kerbin. Very, very horrible link, but still a link nonetheless. There we go. Okay, now is it saying we are science low? No, we're fine at this height, so let's just go and get all those things again. And of course, when you're in low, you can also get lots and lots of EVA reports over the various biomes. But you can see we're going to get quite a lot of science from this. And why not? Let's just send Roswire's EVA. They can grab a report and head back in. And 3-star, 3-star, good. They've got all the experience we need. So now we can pretty much think about what we want to do for landing. And of course, with the look of my particular draw, I've ended up on a dark spot. It just crept into this area. So we are going to be coming down fairly steep. Sort of a 45-degree angle, and hopefully I won't hit a valley just as I'm passing over the top of a mountain or something like that. But yeah, so here we have our craft with the landing legs that are out now, and we probably want to change to surface mode, and then we'll point retrograde just to get us ready. You can bring all this stuff back in if you want to. I don't want to jettison the heat shield. Ooh, that would be terrible. Let me just toggle it. I'll do the same thing with this. And the rest I'll just leave as is, I think. Or maybe just close the doors. Okay. And now we're pretty much heading right down there. And you can already see, that's kind of flattish there. But it depends whether we're actually going to hit that area. I think, yeah, we probably will. If we're coming down to around about here, the surface speed is already 320 meters per second, of course. And yeah, I'm going to want to be able to slow down. So let's just see what happens. How fast can I slow down? That's quite slow deceleration, isn't it? So what I think I may want to do is use up some of this fuel now to bring our deceleration down and maybe come in on this side of that little mountain. It's very hard to see that without my my multiple degrees of freedom joystick. I don't have it plugged in at the moment. Yeah, maybe that tiny little peak there, if we can see it. So surface speed has dropped to 100 meters per second or so. That's fine. And I want to keep on bringing that down as we descend. We're still at 44 kilometers though, so that's something to worry about. And we should get our sort of suicide burn indicator here sooner or later. And here it is, estimated burn of 93 seconds, but an impact in 110. So yes, we can go along with this, but it tends to be a little bit conservative. Once you start burning, just the fact that you're losing fuel by burning it just sort of changes this around. So we'll go with it anyway, but you'll probably find that, yeah, there we go. We're catching up with it slightly, so it's still conservative, which is a good thing, I suppose. But we've got a full over a minute of burning to actually bring us down low enough in speed to land. And here we are coming in for a landing, hopefully. You can see how mountainous the terrain is though, hopefully. And we're just going to slow ourselves down a little bit. And when we get to the last few meters, we're going to... Wow, this isn't too bad, actually. Last few meters, we will then obviously slow ourselves down a great deal more. Unfortunately, our retrograde marker is offset, so we are probably going to come down onto a sort of slope of some kind, or at least tipped over. 13 seconds. Well, sorry, estimated burn 9.8 seconds, impact in 14. We can sort of try and push it the other way, like this. We do have the up vector selected. There we go. So that's more online. And we're continuing to slow ourselves down as we come in for a landing. 8 meters per second, 7 meters per second. And final few... Ooh, this isn't too good. 6. Slow ourselves down even more. 5. 4. 3. 2. And... Oh, are we stable? We are stable. So we're landed on Ike. And we just need to plant a flag now. So it's got to be the scientist who gets out, isn't it? Scientist can get out. Hopefully, well, hopefully RCS is strong enough to get back up onto here. Otherwise, this is going to be a problem. But before we do that, just in case... Let's get a surface sample in case we have to leave an astronaut behind because they can't clamber back on the vessel. I need to put ladders down here at some point, but yeah, let's give this a try. Let go. Oh no, the RCS seems to be fine. Good. That's always a good sign. There we go. And we just need to plant a flag. So let's just head over here on this dark grey ground. Oh. There we go. Plant a flag, please. And flag. Site name. Okay, Ike. And that's done. Hopefully. Yep, plant a flag on Ike. Transmit or recover scientific data from the surface of Ike. Okay, so we've got all that stuff from orbit. So now with my scientists, I should go and take that data in and then go and pick it up. Oh, just turn that off. Go and pick it up from, well, re-pick it up, if you like, from the surface. So why don't I do that? And then you can join me when we're back inside and sitting comfortably. And here we are back on the inside again, and the ability to go and do all of that science. We will do that now. We've got all the data. So in it comes. Material study we want as well. Yep, all that's been done. So now we're on the surface of Ike. We've done our mission. All we have to do is get back. We've got some scientific data from the surface. So return to Kerbin from the orbit of Ike. Well, that's going to have to wait till next episode. Not to leave things on a cliffhanger, but both the Eve to Kerbin, which is our other vessel, our other expedition, is only in 20 days. Yes, we could get back into orbit, but that's not really all that hard. So I'll save you from seeing that. It's just exactly the opposite from what we already did. And then, of course, the Juno to Kerbin is 1 year, 107 days. Now, what we may well do is get back on our course towards Kerbin with this vessel first. Sorry, with the other vessel first, and that has to be because it's 20 days away. Then this one will have to spend a little bit of time in orbit. Now, what we could do, we've got 3,900. It's only going to take us, what, 2,400 or at the most, really, to get back around Kerbin and do all kinds of other things. So we could try and transfer across to Juno and go and pick up more science from these extra science experiments here. But I'll leave that as an exercise into you following along. I may well do that, but I probably won't show it on camera because we've already actually really done that sort of thing. So from here, the surface of Ike, I will leave you for this episode. Really nice. I'm quite happy that we've actually got here. We've actually landed on Ike before Eve. Interesting. All right. So if you like the episode, feel free to like, subscribe, share as normal. Otherwise, as normal, thanks a lot for watching.